The truth has been revealed surrounding this Boston Red Sox organization and star third baseman, a new Chicago Cub, in Alex Bregman. I'm here to break down all of the new information that we have surrounding these two parties and what resulted in Alex Bregman getting fed up with this Red Sox organization and walking to Chicago. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Red Sox Digest. But first, please do remember this video is brought to you by Kalshi. If you use the link down in the description, use code Digest MLB when signing up. After you trade your first 100, you will be given $20 bonus. Again, Digest MLB when signing up. It's the perfect time to get on Kalshi as things are ramping up. Not only do you have the national championship for college football coming up on this up-and-coming Monday, but you also have WBC and the MLB regular season. No better place to trade than on Kalshi. Again, use the link down in the description. Use code Digest MLB when signing up to get $20 back when you trade your first 100. But now let's get to it and break down the truth surrounding Alex Bregman and why he did not return to this Boston Red Sox organization. Now, this conversation is a bit dreadful to have, and the reason being is because it simply comes down to the fact that Craig Breslow, Sam Kennedy, John Henry, and the rest of this Red Sox organization simply has failed this offseason. And last year, it felt like they really just scraped by, and they got lucky last offseason. And let me explain before you jump the gun and tell me that it's just a bunch of BS. Last year, the whole way that the Red Sox acquired Alex Bregman was by giving out $40 million a year over 3 years and got him for 3 years, $120 million. That is a very, very large price tag. In that contract that they gave Bregman, they added a few opt-outs, which he obviously exercised and got to free agency after 1 year in Boston. Now, we all know Bregman was brought in last offseason. Rafael Devers was still a part of this Red Sox organization. Bregman was the third baseman. Devers was not happy about it, was not willing to play first base defensively, and because of that, he was then moved out of Boston to the San Francisco Giants, which was a blockbuster trade in itself. But after doing that, giving up a $313.5 million player, at least based off the contract that was awarded to him by this Red Sox organization, Devers is now gone. Alex Bregman was then the replacement. He was really the replacement at third base before that trade even took place because Devers was never going to play third base again, not with Bregman still present in this organization. And despite a year after that, not even a full year after that took place, Devers is now gone, Alex Bregman is now a Chicago Cub, and the Red Sox are left empty-handed. How did this all take place? Well, when this offseason originally started, we heard a lot of rumors surrounding this Red Sox team, including these two quotes that really resemble the same thing. They just have different words, if you will. The Red Sox wanted to add a number 2 starter behind Garrett Crochet. They went out and acquired Sonny Gray. You can argue whether he's a number 2 or not. I'm going to say he is not a legitimate number 2 starter for a pitching staff that wants to go on into October and compete for a fall classic. Then, this is so hard to do. They wanted to add 2 more bats. They have failed to do that. They missed out on Pete Alonso. They missed out on Kyle Schwarber, Jorge Polanco. Bo Bichette looks like he's going to be a Philly. They have simply failed. They have not done the correct job. And also, Bregman is a Cub, like we mentioned earlier, which, again, they've missed out on another key name. And this all comes down to the idea that the Boston Red Sox wanted to resemble last offseason. And what do I mean by that? They wanted to play a big game of chicken with Alex Bregman, just like they did last offseason. That was literally the term that was being used across a bunch of different insiders and journalists covering the game of baseball, and specifically the Boston Red Sox, as the Red Sox were very much in on Alex Bregman last offseason when they did actually acquire him, but so were the Kansas City Royals, so were the Detroit Tigers, so were the Houston Astros, even the New York Yankees were rumored to be involved with Alex Bregman. Because of the money they went out and gave Bregman, and again, the 3-year, $120 million deal at $40 million a year, it would have been dumb for Bregman not to take that. But after a year, he realized what he wanted. He wanted a long contract, one that would take him to the age 35, 36, so then he could possibly, most likely, retire once this contract comes to an end. The Boston Red Sox, based off of all the reports that we have gathered and been able to find and have been made public over the last week and some change, it came down to $10 million and a trade clause, if you will, or a no-trade clause. The Boston Red Sox, based off of this from Foul Territory, and AJ Perninsky, who's a former MLB player, this is very hard to even say because it just makes me very upset as a Red Sox supporter. And I understand Bregman's a bit older with the other reliable young options that were available. There were a lot of other good options in comparison to Alex Bregman. But what Bregman is going to bring to this Red Sox organization is what we saw last year, not only on the field and what he's doing on the diamond, both offensively and defensively, which are both semi above par. It's the leadership. It's the ability to be a role model and teach these youngsters that the Red Sox have an ample amount of, whether it's Roman, Marcelo, Christian Campbell. If you want to get into the pitching staff, you have Early, Tolley. Again, there are a laundry list of names that the Red Sox are using at their disposal that are very, very young into their MLB and professional baseball careers. So the fact that they wanted to play this big game of chicken, and based off of what AJ says in this quote, which will be tagged down below if you'd like to listen to the entirety of it verbatim of what AJ says, Boston had a number. They went out and offered him 165, I believe. And Scott Boras, who is very, very good at his job, who is the agent of Alex Bregman, declined. And they said, well, we have a better option and we're going to sign elsewhere because they're giving us more money. There's no deferred money like the Red Sox were really trying to use in that $165 million deal they were offering to Bregman this offseason, as well as the no-trade clause. And despite that and being told that, the Red Sox kind of called a bluff. And, well, they simply failed because the bluff was not a bluff. The Cubs were real, and they went out there and obviously offered him that, 6-year or 5-year, $175 million deal, which made the Chicago Cubs a respectable, very reliable option for Alex Bregman and Scott Boras, and that is the deal they took. Once the Red Sox knew and realized, hey, they might not be bluffing, they upped their offer from, I believe it was 155 to 165 or 165 to 175, whatever it may have been. They came up that $10 million increment, and despite that, they were still late to the party. Alex Bregman was already upset and really pushed away by the lack of business the Red Sox were willing to do and the number they were willing to meet, and because of that, Alex Bregman is now a Chicago Cub. It is just infuriating. And I know I've stopped and I've said that a few times up to this point in the video, but it really and truly is. It is absolutely infuriating seeing a team play as well as this Red Sox team did last year, despite being shorthanded to a certain extent because they didn't go out and spend the money 2 off seasons ago that they definitely probably should have. And now it looks like we're going to get a carbon copy of that this season. And mind you, it's just considered a bit worse as they have not signed a free agent. They've made 10 trades, and 2 of them for the only 2 big names that they've acquired in Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras. The money has come with those players. They got a total of $28 million, 20 for Sonny Gray, 8 for Wilson. They haven't really spent any money. They haven't spent a single dollar. They went out and have depleted this farm system to a certain extent to make those 10 trades. And yes, they went out and got young, promising pieces to replace those farm system players and those AAA and minor league guys with. But still, there's been an ample amount of names. Jorge Polanco, Kyle Schwarber, Pete Alonso. The names go on and on and on and on. If you want to get in the starting pitching market, Framber is obviously still available. Ranger's still available, but guys like Dylan Cease went to the Toronto Blue Jays. Pete Alonso, like we mentioned earlier, went to the Baltimore Orioles. The Tampa Bay Rays have been very busy this offseason, including making a blockbuster 3-team trade. These teams are getting better. The Boston Red Sox have failed to do so due to their inability to spend some money. And because they tried to resemble the same exact tactics they did last year, and well, you got them once, you simply did not get them again. The same tricks do not fool the same people more than once, and especially when you have someone like Scott Boras at the helm being your agent, in this case for Alex Bregman, it is not going to get the job done. And because of that, you missed out on another premier free agent that would, whether you like it or not, and you like the player or not, or the price tag or not, it would have made this team better. That is it for this episode of Red Sox Digest. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with everything Red Sox. We do appreciate it.